What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Chef Sawyer Sunday. It's a glorious day. Thanks for joining us here. Today we're gonna make some pulled pork sandwiches. We're gonna load it high with coleslaw, mac and cheese, and you can't wait to see the product, guys. So right here, this is how we're gonna make our pulled pork. This is called the Boston butt or the pork shoulder, and mine came with some skin on. We don't really want the skin on for pulled pork. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take my knife, and it's kind of just like we're filleting a fish. I'm gonna put my knife under the skin, and I'm just gonna slowly pull away. You gotta be careful as you're cutting towards yourself, but I'm gonna grab the skin and just slowly get it off of there. If you have a nice sharp knife, you barely have to do any work, and it should just come away naturally. Sometimes you can buy your pork butts at the store with no skin on. That's good, it just saves you a step. Now the skin, guys, this is still good for chicharrones if you like to do that. We can dehydrate it and we can bake it. But for a pulled pork, you don't really want the skin there. So here's our big piece of skin, and there's still little pieces around. I'm just gonna clean it up. When we are gonna roast it in the oven, the skin would be very tough. It is like leather. I mean, you can't really chew it, you can't get through it. All right, I think that's all the skin removed. Now you guys saw that wasn't a very difficult job. It took me about 2 minutes or so. Maybe for someone who's never done this before, 5, but that's not a lot of work. So what's great about the pork butt is it's a very tough piece of meat. That's why we're gonna cook it for many hours. We're gonna do a slow cook, and it's gonna break down and become nice and soft, but it's also relatively inexpensive too. This whole roast can feed a family, and it costs me less than $20, and it produces a lot of food. All right, guys, it's time to season our pork. I have some garlic here. I'm gonna go ahead and throw some cloves of garlic into there. Now, I like a lot of garlic. You don't need that much, but I do recommend garlic. And here I have some dried rosemary too. Fresh works just as well. So rosemary and pork go excellent together. I'm just gonna throw these in my pestle and mortar and give it a good mashy mash, the monster mash. Now guys, if you don't have a pestle and mortar, that's no problem at all. You can go ahead and chop that on a cutting board. You really get the same result from lots of different ways. Cooking is all about substitution. If you don't have one thing, then you can make it work another way. But I'm just gonna mash this until I have a nice paste, and then we're going to Flavor Town, baby. That smells great. The garlic juices with the rosemary. Oh my goodness. All right, that looks good enough for me. Pork butts do not need to be seasoned with any oil because, as you can see, there's an extreme amount of fat on this cut already. After we're done roasting it, there's gonna be a huge pool of fat at the bottom. So as far as oil goes, it's fine. We have salt, pepper, pretty essential in everything, all right? And then we have some red pepper flakes that'll add a nice little bit of heat, some garlic and some onion powder, and we have the rosemary and the garlic paste as well. And that's all we need to have a delicious pulled pork. You wanna be pretty generous with the salt, okay? It's a big piece of meat, and you can only season the outside of it. And there's a lot of meat on the inside that you don't get to season. Cover it entirely in salt. Whoopsie. We're gonna get a real nice coating of pepper. We're gonna go ahead, hit it up with our red pepper flakes. All right, guys, some garlic and onion powder. Some onion powder. We need more onion powder. Some garlic and onion powder on the bottom. Siri, add onion powder to the shopping list.
Onion powder added to shopping list.
Take this nice, delicious, flavorful paste and give it a nice rub all over. Rosemary and pork, garlic, it all goes so good together. And we're gonna go ahead and cook this low and slow. I have the oven preheating to 250 degrees. It could take anywhere between 4 to 7 hours depending on the size of your roast. I know that sounds like a long time, guys, but we're gonna go ahead and start this in the morning, and it's perfectly ready by dinner time. There's minimal amount of work needed. All you gotta do is season it, put it in the oven, and forget about it. Okay, guys, so now we're gonna go ahead and put this on a baking sheet with a
rack.
When we roast something, we want the air to circulate all around it, not just on the top side. So now the hot air will be able to get underneath it, and it'll all cook at an even pace. Oven preheated to 250. Our seasoned pork roast is going in. That smells wonderful. We're gonna put it in, and we're just gonna let it go, and we'll come back in some hours and check on it. You're looking for an internal temperature of about 180 degrees. And once it reaches that, it's just gonna flake apart nice and gently. You'll see. Ready? All right, guys, it's time for our coleslaw. Very simple. Our coleslaw is about a couple ingredients, not much more. So we have cabbage, this is a green cabbage. We have carrots, and my first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and peel the carrots because the outside is a little dirty because carrots grow in the dirt like most vegetables. So we're just gonna go ahead and peel the outside. We got our nice handy dandy peeler from Grandma. You guys wanna know what's so cool about this peeler? Look at it. It's two sides. I can flip it around, boom. And here's a separate side. This one does julienne. Let me show you. Look at that. That's like perfect for salads and things. Thank you, Grandma. All right, carrots are all peeled. Let's get these shavings out of the way. These make great compost, people, for all my gardeners out there. I'm gonna take my cabbage, take the butt off a little bit, so we have some nice even grounds to work on, and then we're going right in half. This core in the middle, this is nice and thick. We don't want it. So I'm gonna V it out, which means I start at the top, in like a V shape, and I'm gonna go ahead and angle downward, and then I come to the other side, and I'm gonna do the same, and I'm gonna take out a wedge shaped like a V. So boom, there's the thick core. We don't want that in the video. We don't want that in our food. Get rid of it. Take our half, put it into a quarter, and now I'm just gonna thinly shave it with my knife. It's good to practice your knife skills at home, guys. For coleslaw, some people chop their cabbage. That's absolutely fine. I kind of prefer these thin little strands. And now, guys, just one more step. I'll line it all up because this is what we might call a chin slapper. We're gonna get the first piece of it and it's slapping your chin the whole way up, okay? It's a little too long, so we're just gonna turn everything sideways and we're gonna go right in half, and boom, that's perfect. You see it's getting more tall than it is flat, so we'll go ahead and lay it down. You always want to be safe working on your most flat surface, so I don't need to be balancing it like this when I can lay it like that and be much more safe. Now we're gonna go ahead and season and make coleslaw out of it. Time to season with some salt and pepper. Everything gets salt and pepper. You can always adjust. You wanna have a little salt to start because you taste it and you season based upon how it tastes. Salt and pepper, good, good, good. Now it's time to grate our carrots. I like our carrots nice and grated for this. Grating carrots is a very tough job, but somebody's got to do it. Finish strong. You can do it. Don't give up. No pain, no gain. Time. Let's put the carrots in the bowl. I like my coleslaw a little sweet, so we'll go ahead and take our sugar container and we'll add a good little bit of sugar to this. We want it slightly sweet, but not overwhelmingly sweet. Like I said with the salt, you can always add more, you can never subtract. So we're gonna start off with a little bit, and then we can add more once we taste how we like it. And the final ingredient is gonna be mayonnaise. I know this is a little controversial, somebody's saying, ew, mayonnaise. But you know what? Mayonnaise goes in most salad dressings you eat, and it's in a lot more things than you would ever know because it's a good ingredient. Essentially, mayonnaise is just oil and eggs, and that's in almost everything you would eat. This is more of like a dressing. once the carrot juices and the sugar, once it all settles and marinates together, you don't even really taste mayonnaise. It just tastes like more of like a sweet, creamy dressing. And you don't need a whole lot of mayonnaise. You just want enough to bind it together. These vegetables are gonna release their juices with the salt drawing the moisture out. The sugar is gonna dissolve. This is not something that you eat right away. I would not eat this now. You put this in the fridge, you let it marinate together for about an hour, and it's gonna be magical. As sweet as sky. All right guys, so it's time to go ahead and make our mac and cheese for the best sandwich in the world. We have some butter. You can use any fat. Bacon fat works great, oil works great. You need equal parts of flour. You need equal parts of flour and fat. So we have a little bit of butter, we have some all-purpose flour, we have our cheeses. So here we have a mozzarella. I like it for the meltability. This is a sharp cheddar, that's good for flavor. And these Kraft American singles, this is that good stuff. Perfect stretchiness, the perfect melty, gooey, grilled cheese textures we loved as a kid, or still love. Let's go ahead and make that sauce. All right, everybody, so when we're cooking, you gotta remember about multitasking. So I set my pot of water to boil. It's just reaching the boiling point now, and we're gonna go ahead and heavily salt it. At the same time, we got some butter melting to form our roux for our cheese sauce. Now we're gonna boil our pasta. The pasta shape of choice for today's mac and cheese is a corkscrew. Who can tell me what the real name of this pasta is that's not corkscrew? You'll get a golden star for the day. Get that in the boiling water, and we're just gonna give it a quick stir so it doesn't stick together. So our butter is entirely melted. We're gonna go ahead and hit our pan with the all-purpose flour, and we're just gonna give it a light whisk until it's all incorporated. Make sure to whisk out all those lumps. The flour sometimes goes in lumps. All right guys, so once the flour and the butter are incorporated, what we have here is the result called a roux. A roux is very important in cooking, used to thicken things up like a cheese sauce or soups or sauces. So we're gonna let that cook for a couple minutes just so we can let the flour cook out and get rid of some of that raw flour taste. And then we're gonna go ahead and add some milk to it. So the roux is cooked out for a couple minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and add some whole milk. Bring this up to a high enough temperature that we can activate the roux to thicken it up. Because the roux won't actually work until the milk is hot. So we're gonna run it on a quick boil, and as soon as it boils, we're gonna wanna turn the temperature down to a low medium so we can melt our cheeses. Our roux just came to a boil, and now we're gonna go ahead and just turn it low because we don't wanna melt our cheese when it's on too high of a heat, or else it'll separate. A roux plus dairy is going to equal a bechamel sauce. So the bechamel is going to get seasoned with salt and black pepper. Some people put white pepper in their bechamel, but you know what? I like black pepper in everything. And now I'm just going to slowly start adding the cheeses one by one while I stir them and let them melt. And it helps if you would like to take them and tear them into pieces, but you don't want to add too much too quickly. So guys, remember, we got the extra sharp cheddar for the flavor and color. We got some nice mozzarella for its stretchy meltability. And we got some American singles because these are just, this is that good stuff. That high quality. All right, everybody, so I'm stirring my pasta. I'm gonna check it, make sure that it's cooking good. And to check it, it's gonna be a little hot. You guys wanna watch out. There's a lot of different ways, but I just take a noodle and I pop it in my mouth. Perfect. We're gonna strain our pasta into a strainer. Our pasta and our spoon. And now we're just gonna run cold water over it. And now we're just gonna keep on throwing our cheeses in. We're almost done, because as soon as this cheese sauce is finished, we just toss the pasta noodles in there and that's it. So the reason why a processed cheese like Velveeta or American like this is going to be so good for a cheese sauce is they actually put a lot of sodium citrate in there. It basically helps the cheese melt. It's a chemical they add to make it extra melty. Our cheese is all starting to melt and get emulsified. You got to keep an eye on your consistency. If you're getting too thick, add a little more milk, it's no problem. But this is just about what we want to see. That's looking great for a cheese sauce for mac and cheese. Hey, old Yeller, do you want to play Robin Hood? You know they have white cheddar and yellow cheddar, and they have white American and yellow American. Why don't they have a yellow mozzarella? Alright, so the cheese sauce is looking good. I'm just going to go ahead and give it a taste and adjust for seasoning. I think it needs a little bit more salt, but besides that, it tastes perfect. So I'm going to take our cavatappi.
Oh! You gave it away.
Alright guys, so I'm going to take our corkscrew noodles and I'm going to go ahead and add it to the pot. Alright, we got our cheese sauce, we got our boiled noodles, and now it's just time to go ahead and let them get to know each other. Everybody's going to Flavor Town now. And now we just hit it with that good old mixy. To the finished cheese sauce and pasta, I'm just going to go ahead and add some yellow shredded sharp cheddar. It's optional. You don't have to do that. But what I like about throwing in shreds of cheese into the finished cheese sauce is that helps you just get that really nice melty, stretchy ability to it. What am I saying, this guy? Alright guys, so I just went ahead and pulled our pork roast out of the oven. It's been about 5.5 hours now. Once you cook it for enough time, once you reach that internal temperature of 180 degrees Fahrenheit, it should just flake apart nice and gently. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna pull some of the meat off there. That's why they call it pulled pork, believe it or not. Tear this pork and it comes apart nice and easily. And as I'm ripping into it, I can smell that rosemary, that garlic, those pepper flakes are all so good. Very aromatic, overwhelmingly delicious. And you can see the pork just rips right off into these beautiful little strips. They are gonna make for an excellent sandwich. Now, you guys could give this about an hour and let it cool down, or you could just go ahead and do it with your tongs while it's hot. From the lean side as well, you also wanna make sure you get in there with the fat and mix up some pieces of fat with the meat because that is flavor. Bigger pieces like this, you can break them down a little more. You can chop them up if you want. All right, that looks like enough for a sandwich. Nice big meaty chunky pieces of herb pork. We're about to have the best sandwich you've ever seen in your entire life. I got my beautiful bun here. Nice, pillowy, soft, some character to it. Something that can hold a nice sandwich without just falling flat. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a slice of our sharp cheddar on the bottom. We're going in with some nice big chunks of our pulled pork. Now if you guys don't like chunks this big, it certainly shreds to a smaller degree than this. You're welcome to do it however you'd like it. A huge helping of our pulled pork. This is how you do barbecue, big portions, okay? Boom. Delectable dollop of our mac and cheese. That's all right if it runs out the sandwich. Barbecue is not meant to be neat. This is comfort food, okay, people? I got my favorite barbecue sauce going on top. Something sweet, something hot, whatever you guys like, it all works, okay? This is Sweet Baby Ray's. I love this stuff. And last but not least, we have our homemade coleslaw to top it off. This is a great addition. This is crunchy, sweet, vegetable-y deliciousness. And then we're gonna go ahead, throw that hat on there, and boom. That is the Chef Sawyer loaded pulled pork and mac and cheese sandwich. Let's dig in. This is an absolute monstrosity of a sandwich. Piled high with homemade pulled pork, homemade mac and cheese, homemade coleslaw, barbecue sauce. You might say, how am I gonna eat this? That's the whole point. You can use a fork and knife if you want, but like I said, soul food, good barbecue, it's just about getting in there. It's not about how messy it is. This looks fantastic, and I can't wait to make a mess out of myself. This sandwich is packed full of flavor. That sharp cheddar, that mac and cheese, that sweet from the coleslaw, the smoky from the barbecue sauce, the rosemary, garlic, herb crust on the pulled pork. You can't beat it. This is just easy and delicious. Not a whole lot of work was put into this meal. You season the pork butt, it's in the oven for the rest of the day. You don't have to pay much attention to it. It's actually minimal work for how great of a flavor you get. But boy, I am so excited to finish the sandwich. Thank you guys for tuning in for Chef Sawyer Sundays. I'll see you next week. Like, comment, subscribe. And yeah, I love you. Cut.